Welcome to Sharing Hope. I'm your guest, Jamie George, and our guest today is Mr. Michael Blanton. Michael and his business partner, Dan Harrell, launched Blanton and Harrell Production and Management in 1980. They signed this young lady named Amy Grant and did some music with her. In 1981, his friend Brown Bannister, the two of them created Reunion Records and launched the careers of a couple other people, Michael W. Smith and Rich Mullins. So pretty much if you've ever listened to Christian music, it's because of this guy. But he was the executive producer for some of Amy's biggest hits, Michael's too, but Heart in Motion, which came out when I was in college.
Unbelievable.
Sorry. Sold more than 10 million copies and received 5 Grammy nominations. He was also involved with authors, Frank Peretti, This Present Darkness, you might remember that story. And then Piercing the Darkness in back in 89, multi-million, I mean, just crazy numbers. And this guy's been at it all over the board. He's an entrepreneur. He's one of the kindest people you will ever meet on the planet. And he's got something new up his sleeve, Songwriting University. So I can't wait to hear a little bit about that. Michael, great to have you with us.
Glad to be with you. This is awesome.
Man, how are you surviving or thriving in the quarantine?
You know, it's like anything. When it changes, you're immediately thrown off your schedule, because I'm a real people person. So the fact of I'm not having meetings, I'm not getting with people, that kind of threw me a curve. But it's really been good for me now. I can honestly say that the work that I do is like this. We can Zoom, we can call, and the creative content world that I kind of hang in, the artist world. It's happening. It's still happening every day. So I feel energized. I'm just not at an office. I'm here at home.
Was it hard though? You are a people person. Like, it seems like you get energy from being with people.
I do.
And there's something that happens just in the presence of other people. What was that like, that initial adjustment of like, you can't be with anybody?
Well, you should pray for my wife, because she's like then going, oh my gosh, don't you need to go call somebody, or you need to get busy.
Were you antsy? Was it that kind of a feeling?
Yeah, no, but little by little, the adjustment of having family come by, getting to see grandkids or kids, and actually enjoy them, watch a movie with them, as opposed to we'll see you in a couple of weeks, it's really been transformative for family, I would say. So it's good.
That's cool. That's really cool. Well, I want to climb into your story in a minute about this whole idea of uncertainty. I've been asking all my guests that, but before we do, for those who are listening who have been impacted by some of these musicians that I've mentioned, they've been inspired, and of course, many of the stories that have come to you on how a song can literally change the trajectory of somebody's life. Moved by a story set to lyrics and melodies, we've all been impacted in huge ways. And some of the artists like Rich Mullins and Amy Grant and Michael W. and some of the newer artists, Zane and a lot of the others you're working with as well. For those who go, wow, what was that like being, kind of riding that train of starting in a way almost a new genre? I mean, not in a way, I mean, you did. But being able to create music and do it in such a way that it impacted not just people of faith, but people who wouldn't have considered themselves people of faith. Because a lot of these artists had music that touched people around the world in a lot of different places. Maybe we got to at least talk about that. What was that like for you? And when you reflect back on those days, I mean, I know there was a lot of, you and I have talked about a lot of the hardship in it. But what was it like reflecting back at this season of your life, knowing God used you to be a part of, just touching millions of lives?
Well, obviously, I still look back at it and I'm blown away. I'm honored that I got to be a part of that whole story. For me, there was a part that I really wanted to always feel like I was going to be a believer that was going to be in the world, and so. Even as a high school kid, I really wanted to be in that position, to be a godly man who is in the culture making a difference. And so for me to come along and see the opportunity that I had with Amy, with Reunion, with all the artists I got to work with. And even today with the new artists that we're signing, even this very day, I'll tell you about in a minute. But
good.
I think for me, the joy has always been going after it as though we're going to go make some kind of art out of this content that literally, my dream has always been not that I don't want to encourage the church, but I also want to bring hope and redemption to people that are out there that don't know anything about the church, and they're looking for something. And I don't pretend to think I'm going to speak to all of them, nor do I pretend to think I'm going to speak to everybody in the church. But for where God put me, there was always this desire and destiny to want to go, but whatever it is we're going to go make something that would impact the world, impact our culture. So that truly was a dream from the beginning. Now, when it starts happening, it's really funny when we started Blanton Harrell with Amy Grant was our first client. And I honestly thought that, at that point in my life, I was going, you know what, I'm going to figure out how to get her on pop radio at the top of the pop charts, in the next 2 years. I feel that confident we're going to do it. We're just going to figure it out. And we did get on pop radio along with Christian radio was playing, but we were on pop radio pretty soon in those next, but the really big hit, Baby Baby, came 11 years later. And so I'll never forget when that hit, although we'd had a lot of good airplay, we'd never had a hit like that. But when that hit, it was I called Amy and I just said, look, it's been 11 years to get to this point that I thought we would have been there in the first 18 months. And Amy's comment was going, the ride getting here was actually better than hitting this point. So you gotta take it all in. It's a big journey. It is it's the cumulative journey that really means a lot.
That's so good. For those, again, if there's anybody listening who is listening to some of this music, we got to at least give them one story. One of the stories you told me was fascinating is your experiment with putting Amy with the Garmo and key. Can you go back and tell the story about the girl with the acoustic guitar and suddenly that whole experience? I love this story.
Well, the whole thing was to connect I was Amy's A&R man at Word when I started out at Word. I had dated her sister in Nashville, so Amy and I are friends, but she's a little folk singer. Brown Bannister is producing, project on her, and she's a folk singer. And Brown and I had been to college together, and so we knew each other pretty well. But Amy was this little folk girl with playing a little guitar, not very well at the time, I might say. And then I was an A&R guy, and I was actually hired by DeGarmo Key out of Memphis, who were rock and roll, huge rock and roll players in Memphis. And so when we started Blanton Harrell, I told Dan, I said, I don't know what we need to do on Amy. She'd already done 3 records. Father's Eyes had already been out, that a huge song for her, but not super big sales-wise or anything. And I said, I think we need to do a live album on Amy, and I want to get DeGarmo Key to be the band. Well, Christian rock was not anywhere close to Christian pop at the time. So, and Christian pop it was still very new. So, but anyway, I'm sitting there going, I had just produced an album with DeGarmo Key called This Ain't Hollywood, which, by the way, was their only Grammy-nominated album. So I got to work with them on that. I said, hey, I'd love for you guys to be the band to play live for Amy when we do Amy's live album. Well, we're all good friends. They wanted to do it. I got Amy and DeGarmo Key together. We created a project. We recorded up in Tulsa. Just went blank on the university up there. But Stephen Mansfield, forgive me. But was it Oral Roberts? Was that? Yes, I'm sorry. It was Oral Roberts.
Okay, you said Mansfield. And
well, Mansfield went to school there, and I know he would look at me going, "You forgot my university."
He would. Yes, he would. Yes.
He would just wear me out. But I apologize. But all that being said, we recorded live, and gosh, we thought this was just going to be the greatest thing. Well, it happened that every summer in Colorado, Estes Park was the Christian Artists Seminar. That was probably the most iconic Christian music gathering in the United States. So course, we always went there. It was fun to go there. But here we'd put up this live album, and they wanted Amy to come and play and sing. And so I'm just going, it's going to be great. You know, people reacting to her well. But we get there to Christian Artists, 2,500 seat auditorium. And Dan and I are standing in the back. And Amy's up there. She's ready to go play with the band. She's very comfortable with them. But it's really the first time these people have seen her with a band. And it's really the first time they've seen her with rock and roll players like Ed DeGarmo and Dana Key. I mean, that just had never happened. And so, but I'm thinking it's all good. We had great music. And so she plays the first song up there. And there's no response. And I'm kind of, whoa. Okay, what's going on? There is no response. And I'm literally going, I've never been into a concert where there's no applause.
Yeah, nothing, just nothing. Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there going, okay, what's going on? She plays the next song. There's no applause. So I look at my partner, Dan, I said, okay, they may be mad at her, but they're going to come after us. They're going to come after you and me. We got to get out of here. We got to go. So after one more song and no applause, and Amy's starting to get a little emotional. Of course, DeGarmo and Key up on stage are going, we're rock and rollers. They're just playing as loud as they can play. They don't care.
Yeah, right.
And Amy's she starts telling the story of why she's doing this. And, Dan and I left. We had Chaz Corzine was our tour manager. So he's there, but we're leaving her in good hands, but we left because we said, I don't know what's happening.
We're going to get killed.
We obviously are not making the right kind of music or something. And we went back to the hotel, and, that night is really when I'm talking to Dan. I wanted to make an album on Amy that was like, okay, we're going to make an album. It's going to be no question where this girl's coming from. And I wanted to record at Caribou Ranch, which was an iconic recording studio up in Colorado. And so, literally like 8 weeks later, we went to Caribou to make the next album on Amy, which happened to be Age to Age, which was El Shaddai. I Have Decided to Follow Jesus, was Sing Your Praise to the Lord. I mean, it went all of a sudden from that crashing ending night at Estes Park to literally 2 months later, we're recording this album that was going to be the first Christian multi-million selling album.
Wow. And how did you have the
all came out of that evening where everything kind of crashed.
Well, I was going to say, how did you have the confidence? Like, how did you not go, okay, clearly these people are not responding to this because they weren't clapping because they weren't into it, right? I mean, that was the interpretation, or they at least didn't know what to do with it, right?
Yeah, I think it was more a question of, do we like Christian rock, anything with rock and guitar? I mean, think about it. It's our whole worship plan now, but back then it was like, I don't even know if this is of the devil or not, right? That's right. We were still having those conversations.
Yeah,
and so for me, I'd grown up in pop music and rock music to some extent, so I felt very comfortable with the sound, and I didn't really worry about that. But I was perplexed that why would they not like the live album that was just, Amy literally went from a little guitar player to this band woman. And it just never occurred to me that would not be transferable to this is really good. Well, the good news was it motivated me as the A&R director for her, as an executive producer, to go, okay, we're going to make an album that is going to be as strong musically as I could think of at the time to get the best songs that are going to be confident and no question that we want to be characters that are going to change our world. That's really
so it didn't. But it's so interesting. It didn't send you the other way. It didn't make you go, oh my gosh, people aren't ready for this. Instead, you were motivated to go, no, I'm just going to make sure we're really clear about what we want to accomplish.
Yeah, I don't want to make it sound like I was in a cocky sense going, we're just going to go do whatever we want. I think we were very confident that we were not abandoning the good news of the gospel or abandoning Jesus. In fact, we had one pastor come up to us at one point and said, I really don't like what you're doing. You guys are just trying to sell Jesus. And I said, well, no, we're really trying to sell CDs and cassettes at that point. I want Jesus to be everything I do, whether it's at breakfast You know, we're talking about him, whether I'm praying with him with my family or whether we're making music. I pray Jesus is in everything, but I don't feel like I'm selling Jesus. Well, that was a radical change of thought at that moment. And I think people were really trying to get their hand around what is this, all this product and content, and then tours and tickets and things that were starting to come. We were starting to sell out arenas after that, after Age to Age. And I think El Shaddai was definitely the crowning song that people went, I mean, that is a solid song done in a pop sensible way by an incredible woman with a great voice that's convincing me that there's another way to do this. And I just think it caught fire like that.
I appreciate you saying what you're saying, because, the complication of commerce and Christ, right? Like, a lot of people, everybody's got an opinion on, what you should sell and what you shouldn't sell. And you've had to navigate that for a lot of years. And I appreciate what you're saying is, what I hear you saying is, like, Jesus is a part of my life, period. It doesn't matter if I'm getting up, going to bed, or I'm making music.
Right.
Jesus just is. Right. But yes, but I'm a business person who's going to do my best, show up 100% to try and sell music.
Yeah, if I sold insurance or if I sold tires, I would hope to be one of the best guys selling the tires at Discount Tires, but I would be at the same time going, but I truly want to be a godly man while I'm doing that. It's still loving my wife who's home, and I'm still loving my brothers over at the fellowship, but I'm here selling tires. I mean, I win by selling tires.
Yeah.
I think entertainment's been weird, because entertainment's been, has been a weird point for people. And I'll even go back in my high school days. I remember telling my mom that I said, I really would like to be in entertainment. And she said, well, you just can't do that. And I was like, oh, no, what? And she said, well, you just can't. Christians you can't do that. It will eat you alive. And I was like going, it'll eat you alive? I mean, you can't be a Christian and be in entertainment or be a movie actor and I think that challenged me to a point that as I came through college, I was going, you know what? I really want to figure out how not to ever walk away or lose my faith, but be that person who's solid there, who can go create and build content, whether it's a movie, whether it's a song, a product, a tour, and still do it to the glory of God. There's got to be a way to do that.
Do you think part of the tension becomes the power of a stage, and it doesn't matter if you're an actor, singer, pastor, speaker, something about a raised platform and someone saying something in a confident way? Do you think the nature of us as an audience is that we're drawn in? I mean, and I'm going all the way back to, like, the times of the Greeks, right? Like, is there something about the storytelling that puts you in the elevated storytelling? Is there something, because I'm picturing myself both as a producer and as a consumer, is there something about the elevated storytelling that makes it, quote, God-like, where you're like, and then because that person speaks with authority or confidence, or because maybe they're displaying a special talent or gift, now I have some expectations about how they're to live and who they're supposed to be, and maybe I even have some ownership over them because I've participated in listening to the story. Have you experienced that dynamic through the years?
Yeah, I think that the way I would explain it is that for me, even though I clearly believe that we were operating in the power of the Holy Spirit and God's was blessing us, there are times you look back and go, okay, was I just doing what I wanted to do and asking God to bless it? Was I really waiting for God to say, go do this? And I think I've learned through my life and my career now that I really do want to be that guy that's inquiring of the Lord. Is this what you want me to go do? Back when you're in your 20s and 30s, you're like going, you know what? This is what we're going to do. Let's go do this thing. Let's go change the world.
Yeah.
And there's a little cockiness to it that life will humble you as you go along. And I think that's just God's balancing of all of us in different ways. But there is that point of, we're going to go out here and with our faith try to go create product and affect somebody's heart, whether that's a sermon or that's a movie that got me, or whether it's a song that truly, there were some songs, Brown Bannister, and I'll never forget, when we were in college together, we heard My Sweet Lord, from not the Beatles, but from, who am I thinking about? That
Not second chapter of Acts. Who was that?
No. There was a song called My Sweet Lord that was done by, oh gosh, not John or Paul, but not Ringo, but George Harrison. Sorry.
Got it.
And that was a big song on pop radio back when I was in college. But when Brown and I heard it, we didn't know where he was coming from, but it spoke to our heart.
Ah.
And it really connected with us. It was this hit song called My Sweet Lord. And of course, here we are in the 70s, and it was totally not talking about Jesus, but it did to us. It connected that way. So that really was a beginning point for me to go, there's got to be a way to create music, create art that would really be able to be, that comes from my heart. And I know that people are it's going to resonate with people out there that are going to hear it or read it or see it or whatever. So, even the videos we did back then were pretty, they were goofy in many ways, but they were always transformative and redeeming in what they were doing.
Yeah. I mean, being in this business as long as you have, the music business, you want to talk about uncertainty. I mean, you just never know. From one song to the next, from one album to the next, there's so many unknowns. You have had to survive in a world of uncertainty. Can you go back to, I'm sure there's multiple, but could you pick one place in your story where you were thrown into the uncertainty and how you made it through it and how you were different because of how you survived that season?
Well,
because that's what, so many folks right now, that's what they're feeling. They're feeling, we're in Nashville, the band's starting to lift. My parents are in New York, they're like, we're still not going anywhere. We still got uncertainty about just the basic, can we go to the restaurant or the store? But the economic uncertainty, still the health uncertainty, what's going to happen in the fall. Yeah. So just something that can connect with us we're waking up in the morning, still feeling that weight and that tension. How have you done it? And maybe if you give us an example.
Well, there's some simple answers to it. I will tell you that you're making me think of a story when we first took Reunion Records and we had Michael W. Amy was on A&M Records. So Dan and I were creating liaisons with all the pop and rock labels in California when we hit our stride. Even though Amy was on Word, Michael and everything else we did was on Reunion. So Amy was with Word, now A&M Records, which was Sting and Bryan Adams and Janet Jackson. It was a great roster. But now Geffen, who's got Donna Summers, has got Whitesnake, it's got Guns N' Roses, and they want to pick up Reunion Records. And so we our life is just rocking along to the Geffen 10-year anniversary at the Four Seasons in Santa Barbara. And we literally, as a group, it's Dan and myself, and the head of marketing for us was a girl named Melinda Gales and Terry Hemmings. We were all part of this.
Terry was part of that deal?
I know.
Oh my gosh.
So we're all going out to celebrate. Geffen wants to pick up Reunion, a Christian record label, to put through Geffen. Well, Geffen was the iconic, was the iconic rock label in the country. And so we're out there, and I'm thinking we're really something because we've got selected. So we're going to this thing. And we go to an opening party the night before where everybody's just kind of congregating and, drinking and saying hi. And all of a sudden this guy comes up to me and he goes, wait a minute, are you with that Christian label with Union? I said, yeah, we're so excited to be here. And this guy exploded on me. He started cursing me so loud and just jumped all over me so loud that it took my breath away. And Dan came over and stood by me, and Dan kind of stood next to me, and the whole place just stopped talking because this guy was just screaming at me and telling me how much we hate what you do, we hate what you stand for. I'm sitting there going, God, I thought everybody loved us. I'm going, what in the world? And so at that point, he's got two friends that are pulling him away, and he won't let up. And so I'm just like going, I'm completely baffled. Just like I said, the air sucked out of me, and I'm just going, what happened? I went back to my room and just crashed on the bed and said, okay, God, get me out of here. all this thought about that we're going to make a difference, I'm done. I'm ready to go back and do something else because this is not fun. This is not what I intended. Didn't I was ever going to be accosted like that. And Dan we all kind of rallied, but the next day they're introducing us to the whole Geffen team. And so we're kind of going in a little bit with fear and trepidation of going, what are we walking into? Because you've got all their 600 sales guys from around the world are all there. And we walked into that, and it did not set up great, but by the time they introduced us, and we knew we were there, what they're there to do is to sell music. So we came in, and Melinda, a little head of marketing, she's about this tall. She jumps up on stage, and she literally kind of goes, let me just tell you, we know what we're here to do. We're here to sell music, and if we don't sell music that works, we're going to be out of business. So let me just tell you, we're here to play for you what our music sounds like. And I had put together a 20-minute, 15-minute run of our biggest artists and our biggest songs, from Ashley Cleveland to, everybody, all our best rock, independent kind of stuff had put on there with Michael W. in the middle of it. And by the end, we had a standing ovation from the Geffen.
Wow.
Standing ovation. And at that point, the president of Geffen got up and said, well, I guess we know who's going to be the next president of Geffen, Melinda. And they loved it. So what we did is we turned that moment turned from being really psychologically, you
wanted to give up. You wanted to pack it up and go home.
And then after that standing ovation, of course, that guy came back up, found me, apologized for his behavior the night before. I mean, really, he was just totally taken back by the whole thing. And what we learned is that you can't react to the crash, the negativity. You can't get caught up in everything that's going good. Never as bad as it seems. It's never as good as it seems. Somewhere in there, you really have to learn, just take it one day at a time. Do not try to get too far into what you think is going to happen. Don't try to get too far in how bad it's going to be. There's a real part of just being at peace with walking with God where he's got you today. Be incredibly, just to lean into him and tell him, I can't trust you today. I'm worried. I'm anxious. I've got all those things. That happened to me that night. And even though I knew I'd believed in Jesus, I was struggling to go, I can't trust you because I think the crash is about to wipe us out. Well, it didn't wipe us out. Good things turned from that. And it was a great turnaround. And after that, we had a #1 hit with Michael W. at Geffen Records. And we had Kathy Tricoli. We had so much great things that happened after that. But at the moment when people have already prejudged and you've prejudged, it was a changing moment in our lives, I would say.
Yeah. Wow. And thank you for that, Michael. What a great statement that, reading the press, so to speak, right? Like you're never quite as good as you think you are, and you're never as horrible as you think you are.
Very true.
Yeah. And our brains tend to go to the worst case scenarios, or we want the best all the time.
And I think kids do that even more today than ever, that it's just worst case scenario.
Yes.
And you just get anxious. And being older and have lived longer now, there are times you definitely get anxious.
Yeah.
But if you back it up and go, just get me through today. I mean, help me walk through this today. There's always going to be troubles, but if you do that and you get to a place where just start over and say, okay, I'm thankful for my wife. I'm thankful for my music. I'm thankful for my, I get thankful.
Get back to the basics, right? Yeah.
Get to the basics. Be thankful. Live in the one day. Take it one day at a time. God will meet you there, and then he'll give you plenty. He says his mercies are new every morning. He'll meet you there the next day. It'll be good.
I wonder if it's interesting. You were saying about the kind of this generation. In some ways, it feels even harder. And this generation hasn't had, we've had our conflicts overseas and so forth, but unlike, the Depression-born generation, the generation that came through the Second World War, the Vietnam, right? Really, these kids. I was talking to a millennial the other day, and he was saying, I was kind of born around 9/11, so this is, or maybe Generation Z. I guess the guy I was talking to is right on the border, but he said this is kind of the first big thing in my life that I've seen happen in the world.
Right.
And I do wonder if some of, God redeeming all things, this might be beneficial to help them understand, because the millennials in particular are often knocked on, taken shots at because of their entitlement, right?
Right.
And I wonder if the going through this experience might be a little bit of like, no, life can be hard and difficult. And I was on the phone with my son before talking with you, who musician, and just talking about, it's still running through quicksand, just knocking out, okay, we got one more song done. And okay, next week, we got to get another song done. And
right.
And there's just not massive sensation of progression. You're just cutting it out, and nobody can listen to these songs because they're all being saved for the labels. You don't get to share them with anybody. Yeah. This world. There's a lot of perseverance needed.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to feel like this, I was called to do this. It doesn't mean, and I can say that because I felt like I was called, but then honestly, the day that Blanton Harrell Cooke Corzine ended, and I wasn't working personally with Amy or Michael W. anymore, I did not see that coming. I thought I was called to this and would run my entire life working with Amy, Michael, go down the list. It never occurred to me that God might have a change. But I would tell every artist that comes in is going, look, you have to have perseverance. And you're doing it not because it's just a check. You're doing it because it's your heart. It's the art coming out of you. And you're doing it because you love it. And even if you had to work at a healthcare company to pay the bills, I love what I get to do, making my music, my content, my movie, whatever it is. So there's a part of it that it doesn't mean that you're not gifted, you're not good. It just means God may be protecting you, or he's setting up the right time for your music and your music to be heard. I told you I just signed a new artist that we literally started working with her 6 years ago, and actually offered her a management publishing deal back then, and she turned them down, walked away. She and I had been walking together for 8 or 9 years, and she really started pursuing more of a country aspect of life, and which was fine. I mean, I realized in the same way that your son's going, when will this song happen? I'm sitting there going, I'm not the right answer for every artist that comes along as a manager or as a producer. But about a year and a half ago, maybe a year ago, Baylor Wilson came back and said, can we go have breakfast? She said, you know what? Something in my life has really been changing. My faith has been, although I've always had my faith, it's really has turned upside down, and something has happened to me that I'm writing music that's really different. It's just a different place, and I don't know what to do with it. And I said, well, let me listen to it, and honestly, I'm just because I love the finding and the building of a new artist, I just love the process of what it takes to get from here to there. And sometimes tell people it's not your time. You need to go do another job and then come back. Just sometimes you need to hear that. But Baylor had worked really hard with a publishing deal. She'd been writing songs like crazy. And then she came in with these new songs that were just all about Jesus. And she wrote this song called Jesus Wrote Me a Letter that is spectacular. And so I said, well, okay, let me play this for a few of my friends. And I got to play it for Jeff Mosley and James Rieger. And they immediately said, let's work on something together. So we hopefully will sign that deal today. That actually she'll be signed fair trade, part of my new management group called Halogen. I'm very proud of Halogen BNA. So anyway, that for me, the whole thing is all about your timing. And so what you have to do is be willing to be honest about it. Go, you know what? If nobody ever hears my music, it's really okay, because God gave it to me, and I'll share it with my family or my church or my region. But if he's got a bigger plan for it, you got to get a place where you trust that he created you with that purpose. Once it goes back to that story I just told, sometimes you get like, I'm going to go do it, and I know God's going to bless it. And sometimes you got to just wait on the Lord. Take it one day at a time. Learn how to be the best songwriter, the best singer, create the best music, and be proud of it, and wait for your turn.
Yeah.
That's why you have to do it.
and this, which is, thank you, because such a timely reminder, and it's a good opportunity for us to transition. Before we close, I want you to tell everybody about Songwriting University. This is very exciting. Yeah.
Well,
tell us about that.
Well, it won't be long, but it's a cool new digital songwriting platform that anybody in Topeka or London or in Africa or Australia, they can actually get online and write with successful Nashville songwriters. They can go, and anybody that's ever been in the city that's made it, you had to come live here. You had to come find your network. You had to find people you could collaborate and write with. And when that worked, you either got signed as an artist or you got a song cut by Keith Urban. Those are great things. There's so many people that have tried to do that, and some certainly were not good, and they went back home to Topeka and said, okay, I guess I'll work in the family business here. But today, we have look at this COVID-19, what you and I are doing. This is a new world, and people are finding access through digital portals. Well, Songwriting University is started by Billy Sprague, who I signed a reunion years ago. Joe Beck, who's a very successful songwriter, written thousands of songs. They came up with this idea and pulled Gary Glover, another friend of mine, in, who's just a great marketing guy, and myself in, because I said, this is a killer idea, that if I could sit in anywhere of the world and schedule a session to co-write with really good songwriters and work on my craft.
Yes.
I don't have to move to Nashville. I don't have to wait. I can start building really good songs, and then we'll work on the songs and look at the artistry on our side as well. We'll be looking at to see maybe there's a way to help something find its breakout lane somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's a great new digital songwriting portal that I think people are already taking advantage of, and it's going to continue. Plus,
plus it's what?
Plus, we added to it a songwriting competition. So songwriters that are out there right now, they can go enter songs. We're going to give away $10,000 to songwriter in June, at the end of June. So
I like it.
Yeah, it's a cool thing. So songwritingu.com.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Songwritingu.com.
Yep.
That's where you go if you want to be a part of it.
That's right. Go check it out. Go look at the faculty that we have for songwriters, and go check it out. It's a great new idea for song. Plus, you got to realize songwriters that are here in town, like these guys, used to have big publishing deals. We don't have big publishing deals anymore. There's fewer. There used to be 4,500 songwriters that your son and everybody else would have a deal being paid by the publisher. Well, because of streaming, one song at a time, we don't have CDs. So the number is fewer. So now we've got really good songwriters that are here. This is our Nashville's iconic signature that we need to protect. So this is a great way for writers to write, get paid for their writing in a session. And it's just a great way to grow the songwriting world that we love.
Oh, I love the vision. So exciting. Man, cool. Beautiful. If people want to just kind of keep up on what's happening in your world, are you on social media, or is there a website? Where could they find out about what's happening in the world of Michael Blanton?
Yeah, well, they can certainly go to Facebook and Instagram. I'm on there personally. I don't do a lot of posting. I've wrestled with that because I told you this when you reached out to me. You're going, I'm probably not doing the right thing by not doing a big post campaign about me and what's going on. But I am working with a lot of good clients and good people. So I would say just reach out to me by way of Instagram or Facebook and direct message, and I'll figure out how to connect.
And music in particular, if they're interested, this Songwriting University is a great way to get your foot in the door, right?
Oh, it's absolutely a great way to get in the door, and you can talk to me through that as well. So through Halogen BNA, through Songwriting U, these are all new ways of people connecting and building and building their artistry. And today we're actually finding that opportunity. So somebody writes a song on Songwriting U that's a big song. If we could get that on a big ABC show or Netflix show, it could be the beginning of that person's career, and they're still in Topeka working at the family business.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I had an older lady say to me one time, there are two kinds of people in the world: those who walk into a room and say, "Here I am," and those who walk into a room and say, "There you are." and you are that second person, no question. Every time I'm with you, you're looking for a way to release someone else's gifts to the world. Thank
love
you.
that.
Well, thank you for the
thank you.
example that you are. I admire you, and you inspire me every time we're together. So
You're a good man. Well, let's lunch soon. You and I are
yes,
for a good lunch.
Sure. Thanks
Okay.
for taking the time, my friend.
My pleasure, brother. God bless.
God bless. Take care.
Okay.
We'll see you.